Hey there. Been a while, huh? I never really planned to be away for this long, but a lot of things just kept coming up and I kind of had to take a little bit of a step back for a while, but I am back now. And although I may be a little late to the topic, today we're going to be breaking out of the prologue. Now, there's a few reasons why we would want to do this. Not only will it give you a copy of the Unbreakable Master Sword, as well as a copy of the MSG Not Found armor that covers up Link's Zonai arm, but the biggest reason to do this is that it'll allow you to start the game with 30 hearts and max stamina, which means that you'll be able to max out both your hearts and stamina without the need for mods, save editors, or any sort of duplication. You may have also noticed that I said start the game with 30 hearts and max stamina. That is because this will require you to start a new game. My suggestion would be to make or use a different Switch profile instead of just deleting your existing saves. I do also need to mention that this can only be performed on version 1.0. However, there is a very big asterisk there, and we're gonna talk about that later, so just bear with me for a bit. So with all of that out of the way, let's get to it. But first, a word from this video's sponsor. Surfshark is the leader in affordable and effective online protection. Their award-winning VPN keeps you safe by encrypting your browsing info and hiding your IP address. But it doesn't end there. You can also use it to spoof your location to access region-locked content on streaming services like Netflix or Hulu. With over 3,200 available servers across 100 different countries, there's always something to watch now. I've been taking advantage of it to access the UK and Singapore's anime catalogs on Netflix. But Suishi, I hear you say, why would I pay for a VPN when there are plenty of free ones out there? Well, not only do free VPNs not let you access region-locked streaming content, but free and even some paid alternatives make their money by selling your information instead of protecting it. Not only does Surfshark not sell your personal data, but they don't even store it. Unlike other competitors, Surfshark is based in a country that doesn't even legally require them to store your data, unlike the US. But you don't even have to take their word for it, or even mine, because their no logs promise has been independently verified by one of the largest auditing firms there is. So you can relax knowing your personal information isn't being sold by the people promising to protect it. And that's just the VPN. Surfshark also provides services like antivirus, alerts to monitor your email, credit card, and social security number for breaches, and an alternative ID to even further protect you by generating a whole new identity and email for you to use while you're online. And if that's not enough, Surfshark also allows you to register unlimited devices to just one account, meaning full protection across all devices for no additional fees. But if that still isn't enough, they even offer a 30-day money-back guarantee so you can try out the product with zero risk. So what are you waiting for? Head to surfshark.com/Suishi or click the link down in the description and pinned comment and get an extra 4 months free when you sign up. Thank you again to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. And now, let's move on to the setup. Regardless of whether you're using a new profile or an existing save, these first steps will be the exact same. So the first thing you need to do is start a new game. Once you've loaded into the prologue, you have a choice to make. Do you want the AMS flag active or not? For those who don't know, an active AMS flag means the real Master Sword will become unbreakable just like the MSG. If you don't want the AMS flag active, make a hard save in the prologue as soon as you gain control of Link. If you do want the AMS flag active, then proceed through the prologue until you've killed the 3 Keys in the mural room, and then make your hard save once that cutscene is finished. From this point, the steps are going to start deviating depending on your file state. So if you're using an existing file for this, meaning you didn't create a new Switch profile, at this point you can just load a previous autosave from before the prologue and then skip to the timestamp on screen to continue with your steps. If you did make a new Switch profile to do this, then you're going to need to progress through the rest of the prologue like normal until you're on GSI. Once you've made it to GSI, you'll need to go through and finish it like normal. Now, nothing you do here will be saved, so you don't need to worry about stocking up on items or equipment, You just need to focus on going through, finishing your shrines, and getting to the point where you can leave GSI. Once you're able to leave, the last thing we need to do is go unlock a memory. The easiest way to do this is to warp to the Gutenbach shrine and then jump off of the island to the memory right below it. The tier will be found on top of the hill, hiding in those trees. Once you have your memory unlocked, go ahead and warp back to the Nacho Yash Shrine. The last bit of setup we need to do is a little bit of save manipulation. Now, this isn't exactly necessary, but it's going to allow me to make things even easier on you during the execution steps. It's also a very quick and easy thing to do. All you need to do is just enter the recall shrine, then walk back out once you've loaded into it. Doing that should trigger an autosave to happen after you exit the shrine. If for whatever reason it doesn't, then just go and load your most recent autosave, which will most likely be inside the recall shrine, and then just wait a moment after the load and then exit the shrine again. Once you have an autosave outside the recall shrine, you want to load your Prologue hard save. Once you do, just pull up the menu and remake the hard save, then go and load the autosave we just made outside the recall shrine. Doing this will place your Prologue hard save at the top of your file list and prevent the game from making any more immediate autosaves to push that file further down. Now that our saves are set up, it's time for the steps. But here's the thing. Even though the process is very quick, there's a lot happening, and the explanation for this is generally much longer to go over than the actual steps themselves. So I'm gonna do my best to give you an abridged version of what's going on. Okay? Okay. So, the main glitch we're utilizing is called bank storage. Bank usually means map. Usually. Not always, but usually. Map is where you are. Hyrule is map, Shrine is map. If you load into it, it's map. When Link is in map, game calls map bank, specifically this bank. So now that we know what bank and map are, what does bank storage do? It stores a bank change. Since bank usually means map, you can think of bank change as map change. Very important, bank change queues when a load starts and executes after the load ends. We execute bank storage by performing another glitch called memory interrupt. This will force our journal open after we queue the bank change, but before it executes, which lets us utilize bank storage. And now that we're all up to speed, let's go over how to set up memory interrupt. First off, open your memories and select one to bring up the confirmation. Now hold either forward on your left stick or up on your D-pad. Either of the two will work. Next, you'll need to press B and then A. You're going to need to do this very fast to the point where you're nearly pressing them at the exact same time. After you've pressed A, you need to also press minus to close out of this menu. This will need to be done fast as well, and altogether the process should look like this. When you press minus at the end of the inputs and the menu closes out, you'll want to listen for an audio cue to tell you whether or not you got it right. If you hear that sound start to play when the menu closes, it means you've done it correctly. Once you've successfully prepped the memory interrupt, go ahead and enter the recall shrine. As you do, you'll see that it appears like you're stuck inside this loading screen. This is normal. From this point, it is very important that you do not press any buttons on your controller. When we entered this shrine, it triggered the memory interrupt that we had prepped beforehand, meaning that even though you can't see it, the journal menu is currently loaded and fully interactable. So our next step is to use this invisible menu to load our Prologue save. While this is already much easier than it sounds, I'm going to take it a step further and make it even easier for you by emulating what your screen would look like if you could see it. This is the reason why we did that save manipulation earlier. So to navigate to your Prologue save, you'll need to make the following inputs. Press plus to swap from your journal to your system menu. Now mash R a handful of times. This is just to make sure that you are properly on the system menu. As long as you hit R at least 8 times, you are guaranteed to end up on the right menu. Next, you need to press D-pad down to highlight the load option, press A to select it, press A again to select the first save file, press D-pad up to highlight the load option, then press A one more time to confirm the load. If you followed those steps correctly, you'll see that the loading icon starts slowing down as it struggles to load our save file. After a moment, you should load into the Prologue, but you'll see Link performing the animation as if he's just entered a shrine. Once that animation ends, the game will trigger one more load, which will place you inside the recall shrine as Prologue Link. Once you've loaded into the shrine, you need to turn around and walk right back out. I'll explain why in a moment, but it's very important that you do not complete the recall shrine right now. The last thing you need to do is progress through and complete GSI as intended. This means jumping off the island to trigger the title shot, getting the Purapad from the construct, going to the Temple of Time, and getting all of your abilities. And while you're doing that, I'm going to go over all the additional details such as potential soft locks, progress locks, and all of the other little quirks that you'll run into in this state. So looping back to the earlier disclaimer, if you complete recall when you first load into it, the sequencing for finding Zelda gets broken, and that'll end up locking you out of getting the Purapad and prevent Dragon Zelda from spawning at all. So to avoid that, we make sure that we do not complete recall until we're supposed to. The reason we have to use recall specifically is also due to sequencing. If we use any shrine other than recall, we're not able to jump into the title shot, which messes up the game's sequencing. On top of that, even if that weren't the case, using any other shrine for this will result in getting locked in an endless void out loop, so either way, we need to use recall. The last potential lockout is at the inner Temple of Time door. Normally, you're supposed to fail opening this door and unlock warping, but if you don't fail and you just open it up on the first try, the game will skip over unlocking the ability to warp. So if you want to be able to warp, you need to make sure that you fail that door the first time you try opening it. The last quirk involves boss heart containers, namely the fact that you can't pick them up off the ground if you currently have 30 or more hearts. You can still get these, you just need to trade away some hearts temporarily to get below 30. And finally, let's talk about that big asterisk that I mentioned when talking about game version. While this can only be performed on version 1.0, you can update to current version after performing the glitch without losing any of the game benefits. That means you'll keep your MSG sword, you'll keep your MSG armor, you'll keep all of your hearts, you'll keep all of your stamina. I have personally updated after doing this just to make sure that all of this is true. And that covers everything. I know it's been a little while since the last video, and I'm sorry for that. I had some things going on that needed more attention, but I'm back now with a whole list of upcoming videos planned, including giving some long-awaited attention to 1.0 glitches. I've also started streaming on Twitch a lot more often, and it's where I do a lot of my research for glitch videos like this, among other things, so stop in and say hi. Depending on when you watch this, I may even be live right now. But thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.